Hi, everyone. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And I've got what I hope is going to be an interesting program for you today. I'm going to be having a look at our emergency preparedness because I think, it's really important us to keep revisiting this and make sure that we are prepared. Also, I want to talk a little bit um, about insomnia. And because I think quite a few people that I know are beginning to suffer from it. And I think that between us, we've probably got quite a few different ways that we cope with it ourselves. So those are two of the topics. But the first one, the emergency preparedness, has a lot of components to it. I'm going to talk about cooking. I'm going to talk about your car. I'm going to talk about all sorts of different things. We've already discussed some of them in previous broadcasts. So today I'm going to be really having a look at how long could you survive? Can you cook, for example? All right. So hi there to everybody that's in the room already. Hi to Jody and to Jeannie. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. She looks after me so well all of the time. And I am forever grateful for all the work she does to make me look good, quite honestly. What can I say? She's just such a great human being. And Jeannie, who stands in for Jody, sometimes when Jody isn't available. So thank you for that, Jeannie. Who are we? Dear Mama Sal is a group of people. It's not just me. A group of people who get together 3 times a week, and we discuss on Friday lunchtime. We talk about coping with feelings because we all have them, and we are responsible for them. If you have a feeling, you have control. In other words, feelings are things you can control if you choose to. It's much easier to pretend that you don't, right? And keep blaming everybody else. But if you have a feeling, whether it's shy, lonely, anxious, whatever, you have control over it. Oh, and I got something greasy right below me, and I don't like that. I was cooking earlier. Hold on a second. I didn't expect that. All right. So the other thing is any information that you may hear from me, please understand. A lot of this is my opinion. I've lived a long time. Some of it's from research I've done. But most of all, just understand I'm not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or anything else. So if I have any input on that sort of score, it's not a piece of paper. If you've got serious issues, you need to get to a professional, and I'm not one of them. All right. So, however, I'm amazed how many people have said to me, Sal, you've helped me more than any of the professionals," and for that I'm very grateful. I had somebody say that again this week, and you know, I I guess that is something I am very grateful for, is that I have been able to help quite a few people. But it's not an easy journey, as we all know. Getting to be emotionally intelligent, some of us have had to get there, kicking and screaming all the way. Thoughts and prayers. As far as I know, everything is sort of okay with Erin. She's busy trying to get somewhere new to live, I believe. But as far as I know, the pneumonia side of it, I think she's over that as far as I know. If there anybody else that's got health issues that want it made public, please make sure you let me know at dearmamasal@gmail.com, so that I can update our information for people. The other thing is the only birthday I'm aware of at the moment was Nyasha's on the 1st. So if you've got a birthday just gone or just coming up in the next week, please let me know because it's not on our database. All right. So now then, let's have a little look here. Let's start with emergency preparedness. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not so good and 5 being I'm really prepared, how do you rate yourself? What do you think your emergency preparedness score is? Mine, I would think probably about 2.5, maybe 3. And I'll explain to you why, because I realized as I was going through things in my head, there were some areas that I was falling a little bit back on. Oh, Jody's making a comment. She said, I can attest to that, Sal. I've been in therapy off and on since the passing of my mom, and you've helped me in a much more significant and practical way than the professional counseling ever did. Well, Jody, you do understand that for me to be able to help you, you wanted to be helped. And I think we all know people who say they want to be helped, but then you find out they really don't. And that's okay. I've always said that everybody is growing at their own speed, and your speed is the right speed for you. All right. So I try not to get upset with people who don't sort of get it, because I realize that they're on a different path. All right. And they will travel their own path in their own time. So let me start off with this emergency preparedness for today. The last time we were talking about this, you remember I had the power outage here that caused me to have no water and no electricity for what I thought was going to be about 8 hours, and it turned out to be 10. And what I found out was that my laptop worked for most of the day, quite honestly. It was only towards the end that I thought, no, something, I better stop using it, because if I needed it in an emergency, I still need some power. I'd forgotten I have a second one and a tablet. So I could still communicate with I'm pretty well covered in terms of my electronics, but the one that is most important to me, and maybe to you as well, is my phone. All right. So to me, having a phone that is working and charged is probably the most important of all my gizmos. What do you think? If you only could power up one thing in your house, what would you want it to be? I guess that's the answer. And the thing is this, that I do know that even if my Wi-Fi is not, is out because I don't have electricity, I can still get to the Wi-Fi through my phone because of the satellite. So to me, that's the most important one. And if you remember, I bought this unit because I wanted to make sure that I could charge up my phone again. Yeah, Jody's also saying the same thing. I'd want my phone powered up. So here's what I want you to make sure you all understand, because I know you all know I got this, and that it has a 3-pronger plug in it and a 2-pronger plug in it. So I can go from DC to AC. All right. But here is the thing. Be very aware that something like this isn't built for high wattage. Now, we're going to get a little bit technical. So I'm going to make it really easy. If you look at it, this has got plug-ins. So if you've got something that has got a plug like this, that's how you charge it. You can use it in there. If you have anything that plugs in this, I haven't got the cord here right now, but it plugs in with a USB. Anything that plugs in with a USB, I can use it here. So I think you all know that my house has, a series of motion detector lights through it. So if the power fails, I've still got lights. And in fact, I have them all the time because it's so useful at night. If I need to go anywhere, to the kitchen or to the washroom, I never have to turn on a light, because these will automatically switch on as I pass them or as I come towards them. So anything that is USB. So yes, my phone charges with a USB. Yes, my tablet charges with a USB. And can I charge my laptop? Yes. That's why it has the 3-prong. But what I wanted to make sure you all understand, because it's important, is Do you think it could power my Keurig and make coffee? What do you think? And what about my foam making machine? So I've got a number of different gadgets here, so I thought you could just think. So let's have a look. Keurig, the foam making machine. What about my pancake, my crepe maker? What about my dustbuster? What about my halogen oven? Ah. And what else was I thinking about? Oh, what about my steamer? What do you think? Do you think that it would be enough to be able to run my steamer? Now, I'm pretty sure it's not going to run my toaster oven, and it's not going to run anything like that at all. Now, the answer is, of all the things here, yes. We've already talked about that. That's a yes. And my phone is a yes. But this is about 1,000 watts. And really what you need is, I think it was up to 200 watts, all right? The Keurig is, I think, 500. So is, or maybe 3, I think it's 500. The steamer, the foam maker is, I think, about 400. The halogen oven, over the roof. That's, I think it's like 1,500 watts or something. And sadly, because it would have been my go-to, if I thought about all the things, what would I want? I thought the steamer is the most useful because I can boil water in it. I can use it as a fry pan. It has lots of uses. However, when I looked at it, I just dropped the lid, glass lid, I might add. Oh, it's upside down. That doesn't work very well, so 500 watts. So we can forget that as well. So the question is, did I waste my money getting this? No, not in my view. My view is this I needed because it can run my most important appliance, which is my phone. And I suppose some of you want me to plug my phone in, don't you? Yeah, I can hear you. Hold on a second. Okay. I have to, sorry about that. I had to unplug it from where it was. Okay, so I've got a long cord here. Now, is there some fear to doing this? Yeah, because that's my phone. So if it goes wrong, I'm in big trouble. However, I do believe that it is okay, so I'm going to do it. So here we go. This is my phone. Now, at the moment, it is fully charged. Okay, and oh, it's not. It's on 72%. Anybody excited? All right, so now we have this charging up my phone. And you also my excitement when it connected and told me that it was charging. Okay, so we'll keep a track on this and see how it does. So what did I say, 72%? Let me just double check that. Turn it on. Yeah, 72%. Jody, could you take a time thing here? Yep. So here we go. Let's see how long it takes. And Jody, every now and then remind me to check how we're doing on this, please. I don't know why I found that so exciting. For those of you who know me well, I'm certain you're not surprised at all. The kid in me likes to experiment. Now, an intelligent person perhaps would have started with this, but not my most prized possession, my phone. However, what I really want to make sure it does is my phone. So do you have the ability to charge your phone was obviously the question. Now, the thing that I really like about this is even when I have wound down the battery here, you see, at the moment, it's hardly pulling anything because that is solid, and as it starts being used up, it'll start flashing. So apparently I can connect something else. How many of you going, don't do that, Sal? We'll leave it for now. But I could connect up this and my tablet and a couple of other things, and it would be fine. All right, Jody, all I was saying was, can you remind me every now and then just to check whether, what time was it about a minute ago on your watch? And I want to see how long it takes to charge from 72% up to 100%. It's now on 73, people. All right, so hi there, Nayasha, good to see you. So very exciting, that's working. By the way, I've got some quotes on here that I want you to share with you. Making the beginning is 1/3 of the work. So this whole thing about us being prepared, all right, and saying, do I have anything, if there was a power outage and a serious one, do I have anything that can power my phone? Two things. Number one, I've got a crank thing. if all things fail. But here's what I really liked about this. It came with an adapter, and that adapter means I can go to my car, start my car, plug this in. Now, obviously, I can start my car, and I've got leads in my car where I can charge my phone in the car. Do you? If you've got a car, then as long as you can start your car, and I'm going to talk about cars in a second, you will be able to charge your phone. If you've got one of those connectors that go into your cigarette lighter, which is now not very useful for most of us. So the thing that I wanted, the reason I came thinking about this was, we've got another outage tomorrow. It's going to be just water because one of the water pipes in this community has cracked. And they want to get to it and replace it before it bursts and we end up with no water from the well. But we know it's cracked because there's water coming up where there shouldn't be. So tomorrow they're going to be turning off the water to us all. And luckily we've still got power. So turning off the water for me, I'm pretty prepared for that, as you know. I constantly keep water in my spare bathroom bath. I have jugs of it and a big about 10-gallon container of it. I also have my filter, which you can't see. It's just around the corner, just round about, if you could just see it. I have a water filter, which is there next to my fridge. So my water filter will keeps about 2 liters of water. I make sure that my water bottles are topped up every morning. So I've probably got another, what? How much is that, a liter? I've got 1, 2, 3, another 3 liters just there. I also top up, don't top it up, but I will tonight, this is my infused water. By the way, mandarin skins in water. That's a really nice taste. So for me to be without water for a day, do I have water to flush my toilets? Yep. I have a bucket next to my toilet in the washroom now. And, I learned something from a friend of mine who had a septic tank. And, it makes so much sense. And, whenever I visited her house, when you went to the washroom, there was a little note. And it said, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. And that to me was really the essence of how to save an awful lot of water. And obviously, tomorrow I will abide by that. I will only flush when I really need to. The rest of the time, it can just stay there. So when you think about it, I'm pretty okay with not having water for a day. Now, how long could I be without water? Probably a couple of days minimum. I've probably got enough for 3 days if I really wanted to. By the way, I've got more than enough Coke Zero on hand to supplement my drinking needs, all right? Because to me, that also is an emergency preparedness thing. It's liquid and it's a change from the regular. So, but what I was thinking about was, what if I got no electricity and I went past 10 hours? Now, you've all got your pantries full of, not full of stuff, but I know that because we've talked about this, that you've got emergency food in your pantry. So let me ask you, from what you've got in your pantry right now, if you were without electricity for a day, what food, and you can't open your fridge because if you do, you're going to mess the freezer. So think about this. What would you do for food for a day without electricity? I want to know what you guys would do. So you can't have electricity. That means you can't cook anything. Or maybe you've got other ways of cooking without electricity. That's what I want to find out. But also, what would you cook? What would you eat? Now, I'm pretty sure you all know that things like baked beans, especially maple baked beans, and baked beans, because I'm Canadian, right? Baked beans, very good sauce. Anything in a tin. Soups. Soups are pre-cooked, so you could eat those cold. You can eat baked beans cold. You can eat soups cold. What about things like canned meat, fish or meats? They're all cooked in the canning process, so you can eat any of those cold if you want to. So if you've got tuna, if you've got flaked chicken, or maybe a can of ham. I keep quite a big can of ham in my pantry because I know that would last me a long time. Yes, Jody says, I have fresh fruits, crackers, granola bars, and peanut butter. Yes. And, so you've got, that's enough to keep you going for a day, right? And pretty balanced as well. So, yes. Now, what about 2 days? Could you survive 2 days fairly easily? I'm also thinking I've got cereal, that I could eat dry as a snack. No problem. Mini wheats, might, yeah. I've also got granola with nuts in it. That could be a snack as well. Yes, Jeannie's saying she's got crackers, bagels, apples, and grapes. Right, but would you have to open the fridge to get any of those? I'm thinking I've got oranges and apples out in the fresh air, but my grapes are in the fridge. Mind you, I'd probably grab them and take them out. I must admit, I'd open it once, get everything that I need out of the fridge just the one time. Yes, Jody's saying dry cereal makes a great snack. An awesome idea. Pleasure. So that's where I was. And then I thought to myself, can we eat oats? Yes. Oats, you can actually, because we know overnight oats, right? So really good idea if you've got an electricity, if you've got an emergency situation and you've got water, immediately put some oats into water and let them just stand there. And over the course of a few hours, that water will get absorbed and you've got a really nice, solid, protein-rich snack. Yes, Nyasha, I'm just going to get to that. That's wonderful that you mentioned that. Nyasha is saying in our country, there's a small countertop stove called a hot plate. It's a miniature one with a one-burner stove, which works with a gas tank, a propane one. Do you screw it in? Or do you put it on a big tank? That's the one thing I was looking at, Nyasha, which is I am missing a heat source that I can cook on. So, now that Christmas is over and I'm constantly going, what do I need next? The next thing I'm saving for is one of the things that Nash was talking about. A little stove about this big that you screw a gas, you can buy a small canister for it. Just screw it in and it will, hers is a screw-in one as well. And that will last quite a while. I used to have one for camping, but when I sold my trailer, I also gave it away with the trailer. Now, you know what else I thought about? And I didn't think about it that day that I was without power. In my shed somewhere, and I've seen it, in my shed somewhere, I have got a little kettle. How do I describe that? I've got a little barbecue thing. It's about this big. All right. And it's like a Weber. You know what I mean by a Weber, where it has a lid that comes over the top and it looks like an egg. Now, I've got a small one of those, and I thought, boy, I need to find out where that is. And I also need to start, I have lots of tree branches coming down. It's winter. I'm going to start collecting those tree branches and let them dry. I'm going to put them where they can dry and keep a little box of those dried twigs and branches. Yes, Jeannie's saying, if you only go to your fridge once, get out what you need. Get out the milk, get out the cheese. Good idea on the cheese. I've got cheese. There's the small cheeses that I would snack on all day long as well. Just know, maybe have a little list on the front of your fridge. If there's a power outage and I only open that fridge once, I want the milk out, or at least maybe a liter of milk. I want cheese. I want anything that I can happily eat in the next 24 to 48 hours. All right. And I'm prepared to waste if the power doesn't come back on again. That's what you got to think about. So good idea, Jeannie, to talk about the cheese. I agree with you. So now, do you agree that if I've got that little baby barbecue, I can't use my barbecue because my barbecue is electric? But I could use that little baby barbecue that I've got that I bought for when I was camping just to do steaks on its own, because I could fire that up pretty well. So I was thinking I could boil a kettle on that. And if I could boil a kettle, I obviously can't use it inside, but I could use it on my deck. And so now what I'm going to look at is to get myself some tiles that I can put down. I've got tiles in my shed as well. I got tiles under my table on my deck, the big ones for my bathroom. I'm going to put a couple of tiles down and make sure that thing now is available. All right, makes sense. So I could cook a lot of things on there. I maybe will just pick up some briquettes to make it easy. And I could cook a meal on that. Hey. But I think I'm going to get the propane one as well. But in the meantime, definitely got that one covered. What about you guys? What would you do to cook if you didn't have electricity? How would you cook a meal? And do you have enough stuff that you could open up a can and eat something cold? And how long could you last on the cold stuff? Probably a week, right? I'm pretty sure you've got enough cold soups. Hopefully you've got some vegetables in there. I was thinking, I've got a lot of ramen. I bought a whole flat of ramen because I reckon, and I've got a lot of pasta that's stored away because those two things basically last forever. And you don't need very much of them to fill you up. And you can just add a little bit of meat and a little bit of vegetable to it, and it's a meal. And so to me, that's what I keep my pastas for. By the way, for those of you who were watching on Friday evening when I made that homemade pasta that I just guessed what I was going to put in it, It was so good. You remember I said, well, I think I'll put a bit of this in, a bit of that, I put some of this. What did I have? I had regular flour, a bit of semolina flour in it. I had, I had some psyllium in there. I had all sorts of stuff. It was so tasty. Hang on a second. For those of you who missed it, wait a minute, let me just get to it. It absolutely surprised me. As quite honestly, a lot of these things that we come up with on a Friday do. There you go. There it was. Homemade pasta. And I hope you... Oh, sorry. I messed that up, didn't I? I hate it when I do that, people. I can do this. I will do it. I will not be beaten by a mere device. You know that. So just bear with me a second. Okay. So you will see, though, that the main part of that meal was actually vegetables. There was more than 50% vegetable to pasta. Not, in the old days, it used to be 75% pasta, and then, you threw some stuff in with it. I make my pasta at least 50% vegetables. And then I use meat as the addition, not as a main part of it. What about you guys? That's how much my eating has changed. It's amazing. All right, so what was I talking about? Let me go back to that. Hang on, I've got to see how we're doing here. 80%. It's working. I love you. We need a name. Charlie the Charger. Charlie the Charger sounds good to me. What do you think? Larry the Lifesaver. All right, now this isn't what I came here for. I'm such a bozo, really. I'm going to get back to where I was. Because I had quotes here. There you go. Larry the Lifesaver, yeah. We all know the quote, a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. So that's the quote that I wanted to give you today because, we talked a little bit about it the other day, because you can say, well, yeah, I would like to have that cell, but I don't have the money for it. And I would say, no, neither did I. I saved for mine. For quite a while. If you remember, I was talking about it before winter. I didn't get it until the Boxing Day sales started on. So think about that. So how would you cook, people? I want to see if anybody's got the ability to cook without electricity. How many of you have got barbecues outside? And if you live in an apartment, how would you cook? And I just want to make sure you get a heads up that it could be necessary. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is for those of you who've got a car. Do you know that there is a golden rule, especially in winter, to not let your car go below 50% in the gas tank? Did you know that? All right, so Jody is saying, just in answer to my question just now, I don't think we would be able to cook. They're in an apartment. I don't think we would be able to cook without electricity. The non-perishable would need to suffice. Jody, that little stovetop thing that Nyasha was talking about, you can get one for under $100. It's probably without the tank, but the tanks are not that expensive. So, it might be worth putting on your emergency preparedness list. You live in a part of the world where it gets pretty darn cold, and I'm sure you suffer from power outages fairly regularly. I think it's peace of mind, myself. And the other thing is this, Jody, It's like Jody and Jeannie, the same thing. And any, quite honestly, any of the viewers, I'm thinking Sandy and everybody else, the chances are that you would not only want to be able to help yourself, but also the people around you. How many of you are going, oh, I think I would bake up something, bake some bread, or, for my neighbors, or do some, I'd be baking bread. And you guys, some of you would be baking other things. So I'm going an investment of $100 on an ability to be able to cook on a single plate. I want to tell you, you will be amazed what you can cook on a single plate. Right? There's a reason why they called the Dutch oven a Dutch oven. How many of you have got a big roasting pan? You put one of those on a plate like that, and you can cook about 8 different things in mason jars inside the Dutch oven. Jody's saying, I wonder whether the charging station would run a bread machine. I don't think so. I don't think so myself. But just Google how many watts, or have a look at your make of bread machine, or get Lionel to have a look at it for you. On the little, where the serial number and everything is, it will tell you how many watts it needs peak. All right. I got a feeling if my little doodad there takes 500, I'm pretty sure, it's 600 watts. That's what I thought. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it will take 600. All right, so now you know, but if you had a single plate and your roasting thing, you could turn your roaster into a slow cooker. And you could have it basically, on very low heat, cooking all sorts of things. The reason the Dutch oven was called that was because they could build the smallest little fire and be able to cook meals in one pan. Think about that, because we are resourceful people, right? We make a plan. We think about what we can do, not what we can't do. So I want to get onto the car thing. Make sure your gas tank is more than 50% full for 2 different reasons. But first of all, let me make sure that you understand. Make sure in winter that you are running your car at least twice a week. All right? Either top it up by charging it if you're lucky enough to have a battery charger, or make sure you go out for a run at least twice a week, one or the other. Now, the battery charger actually gives it a much better charge. But, every time you turn that engine on, you're pulling a lot of power out of that battery. So if you've turned the engine on, in your mind go, this is the day for me to go and do a lot of driving, right? Because you need to be able to drive for at least 20 minutes to be able to make up that power that you sucked up by starting it. All right, just so that you know that. Now, the thing about the gas tank. Did you know that if you have less than half a tank, you are likely to get moisture in your gas tank? Did you all know that? Now you're saying, what? That's a closed system. Why as a closed system, why would it get moisture? Think about it. If you take a bottle of water out of the fridge and you put it on here, what's the first thing you notice? Condensation running off the side of it. And if you think about it, if there's too much space in your gas tank, it will start getting ice crystals in it at night. Or it's for some of you all day long, when the temperature plummets. All right. So think about that. Try keeping enough gas in your tank so it's at least half full. There's a second reason, I think. The second reason is, what if you broke down? Do you have enough gas in your tank if you broke down? Look at that, what was on the news, right? Those people who were stranded for 24 hours. All right? Yes, Jody's saying, my father always warned us about keeping the gas tank topped up in winter. It's ingrained in me now. Yeah. Hi there, Kimmy. Good to see you. Yes. So think about that. Make sure if you top up your gas as often as you can, um, but make sure it's over 50%. And the thing is that all those people that broke down in that terrible snowstorm, right? They were stranded for 24 hours. Now, have you all thought, I hope, if that happened to me, how would I do it? Jeannie's already researched the little stove we were talking about. In America, she's saying that the Chef Master butane stove is just $49.95, less than $50. How much for the propane little thing you screw into it? Jeannie, could you have a check on that one for us? That would be very kind of you. Thank you, honey. All right, so my question is, if you broke down on a highway, do you understand that having a full tank of gas would be very, very useful? Now, you can say, well, what I would do is I just turn the engine on occasionally, to heat up the car, and then I turn it off again. Remember, the thing that pulls the most power out of your battery is turning it on. So how many times are you going to be able to turn that on? I think I'm not into this, but I will ask somebody I know that might be able to tell me. Is it better just to let the car run on a very low idle and keep warm the whole time until the gas runs out, or turn your engine off? I'll talk to my friend about that and see what he says. And it'd be interesting to know how long that would last. 84%. For those of you who don't know, I am busy charging my phone with my rock solar charging system, right? Because I wanted to see how long it takes. That's not taking very long, is it? Wow, that's pretty good. Okay. So here's the other thing. If you got caught in a snowstorm, what have you got in your car, people? Have you got the ability to stay warm without the car engine? Question. I would suggest, if you haven't got one, pick up a secondhand sleeping bag and keep it in the car, preferably a good quality, a Sub-Zero one, and keep it in the car the whole time. All right. Stick it under the seats, hide it somewhere where you don't see it until you need it. But I want to tell you, knowing it's there could save your life. All right. I have to ask you, do you have water in your car? Drinking water? All right. Think about that. Do you have drinking water in the car? And if you have drinking water in the car, all right, do not fill up your bottle like this. Make sure you leave at least a good inch, because when water freezes, it expands, and you don't want to break that bottle. Now, Kimmy's saying that she bought the same crank radio that I did, and it will charge one soul before it has no power. Okay. So that's you can just crank it back up again, but that's hard work. Believe you, I tried it, and it's great for the absolute emergency. But I thought I'd rather have this one because I'm old and lazy now. So here's the question: can you keep warm in your car without the car being on? If you've got an old Parker, keep it in the car. All right? Doesn't matter that it never gets used, because the day that you need it, you will be so grateful for it. If you've got a Parker and a Sherling type blanket in the car, good idea. It's just like, and keep gloves in the car. All right, you're asking me what this one is called, Kimmy? I'm just trying to make sure I know what she's asking me here. I'm just going to show you. I'm not getting paid by these people. Called a rock solar. Okay. So, but as I explained earlier, Kimmy, know what it can and cannot do. All right? That's the most important thing when you get a gizmo like this. Yes, Jody's saying have some of those hand warming packs available. That would also help. All right, Jeannie is confirming, thanks, Jeannie, to buy that butane stove with 4 canisters. That would keep you going for quite some time. $64.50 in American. So as I said, for under $100, you could have that stored somewhere and never use it. But you know that in if the electricity went out, that would keep you going. I would think 4 canisters would keep you going for at least a couple of weeks if you used it sensibly. And I could have coffee. That's what I've got instant coffee. Do you have instant coffee in your emergency plan? I do. Okay, 1 teaspoon per cup. That would keep me going for enough time until the power came back on again. If I could heat the water, which is my next thing. And I'm so glad I thought about that little baby Oops. Dropped the phone. The little baby barbecue. All right, how about this one? The start of something new brings the hope of something great. Anything is possible. How many of you got excited just to see that I was playing with something new? Because that gives me joy. All right? And things that give you joy are good for you, right? So to me, it was scary. And this is the reason why I did it today, because coping with stress. It was stressful because what am I scared of? I'm going to do something bad to my phone. But if I don't try it, I'm never going to find out. And don't you agree? Better I find out when I don't need to. I've got time to replace my phone if I have to, rather than when the emergency already happens. Now, how would you charge your laptop from here? You would need a double-ended connector. Some of you may have them. It's like an extension, right? Where you can plug it into their USB and plug it into your USB port in your computer. Do you know what in other words, the other end of it is not the little thing that goes into your phone. The other end of it is another USB. Do any of you have one of those? Good thing to have. All right. So think about that. The bottle of water, if you've got a bottle of water in the car, make sure it has at least an inch, probably 2 inches would be safer for expansion in case the water freezes. You make such a mess in your car when it does. Right, now then, let me think about this. Do you have any snacks in the car right now? I do. Not many. By the way, even if they're stale, would you care if you didn't have any food? All right, so Kimmy's asking, how would I get the internet without power? My phone can get the internet without power because it will go to the satellite. It will cost me, but I can do it. However, this, I believe, will run not the router, yes, the router, right? Is it the router that I would need to run? I wouldn't be able to run my television as well. So, and that's what I want to talk about. So what I've done, Kimmy, is I have already downloaded a couple of movies that I've put on my external hard drive so that if I have another power outage, I know I've got at least 3 hours of movies that I want to watch sitting on my external hard drive. Makes sense. So I could be entertained. And that's why I want my laptops to be, I'd be able to, and I can charge my laptop either through this, or I can go to the car and charge my laptops. I forgot about that last time, that I could do that. Okay. Now, the other thing is, how many of you have toilet paper in your cars? Or at least maybe some paper towel. Because if you were in there for 24 hours, you might need to leave there, if you get my drift. So I used to keep a roll of paper towel in my car, but I know that it's not there anymore. Or if it is, it's very, very old. So I'm going to be replenishing that. The other thing I would recommend is maybe have a cardboard box, not too big, but a small one, and put in there some dry kindling. Mind you, the cardboard itself would, be easy to light. Make sure, maybe some branches, some dried branches, that you've got them in the car with the cardboard box, with some paper that's dry. By the way, really good fire starters, I'm pretty certain you know this, lint stuck into toilet rolls. Did you know that? If you want an excellent campfire starter, just, your lint from your dryer, stick it into some toilet. I'm going to do that this week. Stick it into some toilet rolls, have a couple of those, instant fire starters. Great for my little barbecue. I'm getting excited now. By the way, when you light a barbecue and you have wood on it, how long does a charcoal barbecue last? At least a couple of hours. That is also heat. Okay? I'm getting quite excited now. So I'm going to put this little box in my car with the toilet rolls in there. I'm going to put a Bic lighter in there, or one of these things. Now, you can pick these up at the dollar store for $1. Just enough to do it. Kimmy's saying she saves her lint anyway. So what do you use your lint for? For those of you who make little dolls and things for hospitals and stuff. Yes, I was saying, do you keep a blanket in the car or a sleeping bag? Even better. All right, get an old secondhand sleeping bag. Somebody's throwing one out. Huck it in the car and keep it there. Don't ever take it out. So you've always got it there. If necessary, just use it as the base for your trunk of your car. Just open it up. It's a good idea to have. And probably, if as well as a butane lighter, maybe some matches as well. Yes, Kimmy keeps the lint for emergencies and for burning and for cookouts. Well done, Kimmy. I'm proud of you. All right. So now then, my next question on preparedness is this. How many fire extinguishers do you have in your home? Question number 1. And question 2. If you had a guest and there was a fire, can your guest see those without a problem? One of the things that I find very interesting when people come to my house, one of the things they say to me is, wow, you got fire extinguishers all over the place. And I went, yeah, guess why? Right? I've had a fire, and I've always had, I also used to have an RV, so I know how important it is to have a fire extinguisher. All right, so Jody's saying we have one fire extinguisher in the kitchen. So how many of you have one in the car? And that is something else, that I don't have one in the car. So think about that. But what I was saying was one of the things that I find interesting is that people who visit my home always comment on the fire extinguishers. So what do I know? People see them. When they walk through my house, they see them. So if there was a fire, would they know where to find one? They'd go, there was one in, yeah. Um, I think we're going back to what's in your car. Stale energy bars will keep you alive. I don't think you're going to be fussy if you're really hungry, stuck in a snowbank somewhere. You're not going to say, "Oh, this is stale. I don't think I'll eat it." You go, "Thank goodness I had it in the car." The other thing is, for those of you who can eat it, beef jerky, good thing to have in the car. Another thing that lasts just about forever. And of course, if you're smart, you'll rotate them every year. Or every season probably. But it's like, think about that. Do I have stuff in the car? I'd have to live on chewing gum. Yeah, because I do have chewing gum in the car. Somewhere I got candy, hard candies. Hard candies would last a long time. So, how about this one? Walt Disney said this about new beginnings. He said, the way to get started is to quit talking about it and begin doing it. So, as you know, my preparedness is an ongoing thing. As I get one thing sorted out, I go, okay, what's the next thing I'm working towards? And my goal is every season to keep improving it. I did find, when I was unpacking, I did find that little flint fire lighter that you probably remember I got a couple of years ago. I don't know what I did with it, but I know it's in the house. So I'm now going to get things reorganized. All right, I hope you all learned something from that. And so my question is to each of you who are in the chat at the moment, and those of you who might be watching in the sidelines, what one thing did you hear and you go, I'm going to get that next on my preparedness. That's the next thing I'm going to work towards getting. And do it. Give yourself an achievement point for doing it. Maybe it's picking up an old sleeping bag. Maybe it's, or, if you haven't got an old sleeping bag, what about that old comforter that nobody ever uses? Keep it in the car and use it, to put it at the bottom of your boot, or what do you call that? I can't talk American suddenly. They don't call it a boot. What do the Americans call it? Somebody's going to do that. All right. Sandy's saying she's making her listener a trunk. Thank you very much, Jody. Yeah. For some reason, I just couldn't think of a trunk. All right. Jody's going to get a butane stove next. Good, Jody. An investment, all right? Sandy's saying all of it. Actually, I asked my husband and he shrugged his shoulders. I guess we're going to be prepping now. Yeah. So think about, for 24 hours, what could I eat cold? And by the way, when I had those 9-10 hours without food, I thoroughly enjoyed the cold stuff that I had. I thoroughly enjoyed it, right? And then say, probably after 24 hours, the cold stuff, you're going to want something warm. And what if you don't have any heat inside? Now, that's another thing. Please be aware that massive fire that happened in New York City last night, in the Bronx, I think, it was started by a space heater. All right, somebody trying to keep warm inside. All right. For those of you who know about my fire was started by an extractor fan, something over which I had no control, had no knowledge that there was anything wrong. So, we can all end up in that situation. And then you're going to be very grateful that you were prepared. And especially if you can get to your car, start it, because you keep topping up the battery, start it and get out of Dodge if you need to. knowing you've got food and water. By the way, good idea to put a couple of pop cans in the car. Wait a minute. What happens when they freeze? If you put pop cans in your car, I would put them in polystyrene. Yeah, a small cooler would keep them warm, wouldn't it? I think maybe we need to do an experiment on that. They'll explode. That's what I wondered. Okay, so forget about that. You know what I was just thinking, though? A gallon jug of water, with about that much headroom on it. That would be a really good idea. And again, even if it'd been there for 4 months, you'd be glad that it was there. So here's the next thing. How many of you, this came up a couple of times recently, and I thought we'd talk about it. How many of you have problems sleeping? And I thought between us, we probably have a lot of answers because, what I love about this group of people is we help one another with our own knowledge, all right? So how many of you, first of all, do have sleeping issues? I have noticed that my sleep is now down to about 6 hours a night, if I'm lucky, on average, as opposed to, I was up to well over 7 about 6 months ago. So for some reason, I am not sleeping as much. All right. What will explode? A pop can in the car at night. Jeannie, that's what we were saying. Pop cans, don't keep them in the car. Okay. Ogmandino, who wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, but Ogmandino said this. He said, beginning today, treat everybody you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend to them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. And do it with no thought of any reward. Your life will never be the same again. All right? All right, so Sandy came back on that one and said her sleeping only suffers because I stay up too late. You and I both. And Jody's saying she has trouble sleeping quite often. All right, and so that's why I thought we should discuss it a little bit. So the first question I have, when you have insomnia, what do you do? Do you stay in bed and keep trying to toss and turn and sleep? And do you keep saying, oh gosh, now I've only got 5 hours left? Do you stay in bed? And if so, for how long? I find that I will stay in bed for about an hour or so. And if I haven't fallen asleep after an hour, why stay in bed? It means my mind is racing far too much. So what I will do is then I need a book. Sandy's saying she stays in bed because if she gets up, she's going to wake the family. Very thoughtful, right? Jody says, I listen to an audiobook or watch YouTube videos. Now, what I've found, Jody, is with your mind being, as active as it is, you've got a very active mind. You think a lot and you plan a lot and you're creative and all those sort of things. I would suggest that watching YouTube videos probably stimulates your brain instead of relaxing it. That would be my sense, because you're using so many senses, whereas if you're reading, you're only using the one sense. However, it depends what you're watching. I found there are certain things that I can turn over and literally I can't get them on I don't have a smart TV in my bedroom. I have one in my living room, but not in my bedroom. But I will turn over and put my phone on because it has a much better picture than my tablet. And I watched this particular series. It has about 27 seasons of it. And what I find is it is great for sending me to sleep. All right. And so what you need to do is find something quite boring. And, but what I do is I get all tucked up and comfortable. And then I put that, and by the way, I turn my phone so it's the same angle as my head. They got to design that. You need to be able to go like that so you can watch it while you're sleeping. As I said, I'm one of those people that watches television with their eyes closed. But like the reruns of Poirot, if you can get, the 26 seasons of Poirot, put it on. Now, I wouldn't watch TikTok. You know why I wouldn't watch TikTok? It's too stimulating. It's very fast, very whatever. I wouldn't watch TikTok. I would watch something that's slow. British drama is slow. They're great if you're wide awake, but if you are half asleep, no, definitely, I wouldn't watch YouTube. I don't watch YouTube, and I don't watch TikTok or anything that's what I call fast pace. Yeah, what you want is something that's going to slow you down, or get the Kindle out and start reading a book. With all due respect, how many pages of a Kindle can you go before you fall asleep? There's a reason why reading at night is a good idea. It slows your brain down. You have to go at the speed of reading to be able to make sense of it. And by the way, a high action drama probably isn't a good idea. All right. You may want to read something educational. Yeah, a book would do it for me. Sandy, I used to do that whenever I went camping. I'd always have a book. And I found that when I was, I could get about 4 pages of a book done and I would fall asleep. Interesting. Yeah, Kimmy's saying, what about if you put sleep videos? Now we're talking back to YouTube now. What about the meditation ones? What about the music ones, raindrops or waves crashing? Good idea, Kimmy. Thank you. As I said, I knew that we'd all come up with good ideas together. How many of you have a set bedtime and you keep to it? I wish I could say the same. I think I do. It's around about 2:00. And Sandy's saying, I just have to smell a book and I'll fall asleep, right? So that's a really good thing to do. Lauren in Tasmania, how many books is she planning to read this year, Jody? 10, was it? That she's planning to read or something. Maybe it was more. But she actually, part of her, her goal for the year is to read that many books. And I would say, we've got all the technology to do it easily. You don't have to go and buy one. So many of those books, you can actually download them as a PDF if you want. It's like, hello. So when you look at your insomnia, what are you doing about it, right? There's no point complaining about it. We're doing things wrong. I found out that my neighbor, I asked her, how many hours sleep do you get a night? Because I just wondered, maybe, it's normal at my age that you only sleep for that many hours. She said if she doesn't get 10 hours sleep, she's a wreck. And I'm going, when did I last sleep for 10 hours? I think I did once this year. I did sleep for 10 hours. I gave myself permission to turn over and go back to sleep and spend the day in my jammies. And I did sleep for close to 12 hours, I think. Yes, Jeannie's saying some experts do say that you can get up and go do something and try again. I do that quite often. If I'm tossing and turning and nothing I'm doing works, I will go, why am I still in bed? I might as well get up and go and do something. And I will go and do something in the living room, different bed, if you like. And I will lie down in the living room and put something on the television and I'll fall fast asleep. It's really weird. Oh, interesting. Kimmy's saying that her daughter has a projector that puts stars and clouds and more onto the ceiling. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would, yeah. It's like a kiddie's mobile, right? Very good idea. The other thing is, how many of you keep your bedroom dark and for sleeping only? In other words, you don't allow devices in your bedroom. I need the white noise. I sleep with the television on. Jody was saying I could sleep 10 hours when I was in my 20s. I think that was the last time. If I get 5 hours, I feel on top of the world. Yes, you've got a lot of pain issues going on, Jody, and a lot of health issues. So for you, 5 hours is a miracle. All right. And I totally get that. What I am aware of is I get up too many times during the night. Most of the reason I am awake is because I needed to go to the washroom. So, and Jeannie is saying she has bursitis in her left hip, and that has her up. So she got a cortisone shot, and it's helped a lot. Yes. Jody's saying I sleep with a fan on, even in winter. I just don't have it pointing directly at me. Good. So, we've all got different ways that we sleep. They do say if you want to sleep at night, avoid napping during the day. I actually am beginning to think that my sleep routine, I don't know if any of you relate to this. I think my best routine is sleep for 4, get up for 4, sleep for 4, get up for 4. And for some reason, that seems to work. So I do know that I need to pace myself during the day if I want to sleep properly. First of all, have you noticed that if you get more exercise, you sleep better? That is, something to be aware of, right? If we're not doing much during the day, the chances are we're not very tired. If you think about boot camp for soldiers, why do they do what they do with them? Obviously they're working them all day long to get really fit. But part of that as well is when they hit that, when they hit that bunkhouse, they only allow them in to sleep, right? They don't allow them in during the day to rest or do whatever. The only time you see that bunk of yours is to sleep. Boom. And they sleep because they're exhausted. And I think that's an interesting point. Right? Do you do enough so that you want to sleep? And, if do you relax your body? And, Jody and I have both practiced that business where you actually relax every part of your body. You just, first of all, you relax your eyes, your forehead, and then your eyes, and then relax your nose, and relax your mouth and your ears. But you just do it slowly. All right. I found a really interesting program called Balance, like balance. And that has a breathing exercise program in it. And, before I try to sleep now, if I'm having a problem, I will put a number of those different breathing exercises on to control my breathing and bring that down. And then I will put on the television program that sends me to sleep. And it works. One thing for some of you listening to music, again, make it slow. Classical music probably would do it. Try not to have it, reggae and rock, hard metal. Make it what they call soporific, stuff that's going to lullabies, ballads would be good. All right. Just the rhythm will help you sleep. They do say to not rely on sleeping pills. Now, I don't know about any of you, but my mom, I do remember this. My mom used to take seasick pills to go to sleep, motion sickness pills to sleep. Did it all her life. So what is there in motion sickness pills? Antihistamines? What is in there? I've often wondered about that, but it worked. She never took sleeping pills her whole life, but whenever she wanted to sleep, she would take one of those and it would work on her instantly. So while you guys are thinking about that, here's another quote for you. Talking about new beginnings, when faced with a large project, remember you move a mountain one stone at a time. Remember our emergency preparedness. You don't have to get it all this week. Be nice if you could, but most of us can't afford to get it all this week. So get one more thing. All right? Do one more thing. Buy one more thing. Plan one more thing. So a lot of you might have medication that you take. So be careful what you mix with your medication. Maybe talk to your doctor. What can I take, with the medications that I take? That is not a sleeping pill per se. What would you recommend? For those of you who take diuretics, they're the ones that reduce, their water pills. They reduce the amount of water that your body is storing. I need to start taking them again. I notice that I'm beginning to swell up again. If you look at this, right, you can see this here. So I'm going to be having a week on diuretics to get rid of some of that. I have to be careful when I take it. I obviously can't take it while I'm doing broadcasting, so I do it Monday to Thursday. And normally half a diuretic does the job for me and gets it done. Luckily, my feet have been fine because I have found that when I wear shoes, proper shoes, my feet don't swell nearly as much. So that's the thing, it's when I'm not wearing proper shoes. And also what I will be doing is wearing compression socks this week. So between the two of them, I should get rid of a lot of water, or definitely a lot of swelling. Obviously, they say avoid caffeine. Now, some of you will tell me, Sal, I can drink coffee and still go to sleep. And if you can, that's great. But if you have diuretics, please think about and coffee is a diuretic as well. Please think about not having it too late. Because, if you're taking water pills, they're going to wake you up because you're going to need to be grateful that they do. That's what I always say. When I wake up in the night and I'm muttering, I woke up again because I need to go to the washroom, and I keep going, yes, Sal, but be grateful for that. It's when you don't wake up and go to the washroom that you're going to be upset. So do you understand? I try to keep that on a very positive note. Be grateful that you did. Yep. So think about your caffeine. How late do you take caffeine? Now, the other thing is to obviously have a regular exercise routine. Now, exercise, let's get rid of that word. Let's talk movement. So for those of you who've got a smartwatch, again, let's take stock. It's the beginning of the year. How many steps do you do a day on average? Know it. You don't have to tell me or anybody else, but know it. I decided this time last year, I was doing about 8,000 steps a day because I started training to do the 5 kilometer, remember? So now I've made a goal and said, okay, this month I'm back up to 6,000 a day. And because I told myself that that's the minimum, I have averaged more than that. I'm not quite sure. Oh, we haven't. Jody, I don't know how long it's been at 100%, but it is fully charged. So how long was that? It could have been fully charged for quite a while. That was so exciting. It works. And if you notice, it hardly pulled anything off the battery. Can you see that? Wait a minute. because if the battery had drained at all, you see this battery here, it would be flashing, and it's not. So it has, oh, try again, Sal. See the blue battery there? It's not even flashing. So it's hardly took anything to do that. That is exciting. So it took an hour to do 25%. Thank you, Jody. That's exactly what I wanted to know. So it wasn't, and I didn't plug it into the rapid. Or maybe I did. I don't know. I'd have to do a bit more reading. I'm not sure if I had it in the first charge, but an hour to do 25%. So if I totally drained my battery, which I would never do, I would probably take it down to 25% and then charge it back up again. But the good news is I could be charging it and still using it. Of course, that would keep it take longer to recharge, but it works, which is what we all wanted to know, right? Yay, that's exciting. So the point I want to make is, was I sleeping better when I was putting in more steps a day? Now, on the good side, I have to say that I have managed to keep my blood glucose under control. And that, for now, what is it now, Jody? 2 years? And so I keep reminding myself to be grateful for what I'm doing right. So given a choice between 10,000 steps a day or keeping my blood glucose under control, quite honestly, my blood glucose is more important to me. Nyasha is saying, Mama Sal, what is it really? Maybe I can purchase one. This thing? It's called, if you were to, just so that you know, Nyasha, this is the name of this one, okay? It's called a rock solar. But here is what I want you to know. There are lots of different sorts of them, all right? But generically, they are called portable power supplies, okay? And this one is made for campers, a portable power supply. Now, there are all sorts of different ones, and they're not cheap. I just need to warn you, it's not a 25-cent purchase here. I think this one was close to 200 Canadian. Now, probably means it's 150 in the States. And this one is called the Adventurer, the one that I got. And it's specifically made for camping people, right? So they can charge their devices. All right, so Kez, hi Kez, always great. Kez is saying, hi, I found that when I sleep in a cooler room, I sleep better and do not drink liquid too close to bedtime. And you can get kids' sleep stories. That's a good idea. Read children's books. It'll send you to sleep, right? Oh, interesting. Sandy is saying, Sandy's in Canada, in Ottawa, I think. Sandy's saying 200 now with a $20 coupon, all right? So in Canada, they're about $200. That's what I thought. Yep. Thanks, Sandy. I appreciate you doing the research again. So the thing is, it doesn't matter what you do. My question is, let's keep getting more prepared. I'm going to revisit this every year with you guys. All right. Every year we're going to redo it because and Jody's saying, I was pretty good. Jody's saying that Rock Solar Adventurer is 150 on Amazon at the moment. Okay. So, again, you understand the Canadian rate is different. We don't have the same dollar. Slightly different. All right. So now you look at it and go, are you one step closer to being more prepared? And if so, then it was worth doing the broadcast. Can you see there's a reason why I did it on a Sunday? All this, what would I do to cook, is a stressor. If you know, and now I know that as soon as I can get the snow moved away from my shed, I'm going in there and I'm going to find my little baby Weber. All right. It's not a Weber, but it looks like one. It looks like a baby Weber. And I'm going to, start getting the twigs and things and drying them so that I can light that up and have an ability to boil a kettle. All right. So Kez is saying, when I sleep at 10:30, I will hear an alarm. But if I sleep at 1:30 p.m., a.m., I presume, I will not hear it and sleep 3 to 4 hours later. Wow, isn't that interesting? Sandy's saying, yes, well worth tuning in, as always. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I must admit, I do try to work hard to bring you stuff that will hopefully improve your life in some way. And as I said, I think we can all live quite happily for 24 hours on cold food, as long as we know that we've got it available. So keep your cold food available. And by the way, when I got my cold food, I tried to say, what would I really like to eat? Like prawn cocktail came up. I've got mayo stays a long time, because it has a shelf life. And I've got tin prawns, that I can mix with mayo and have on crackers. All right. So to me, I don't want to eat nasty food. I want to eat, it's like camping. I want to be glamping. I don't want to be, eating rations. No, I want to enjoy it. So make sure you got stuff. Yeah, Jody, I'm certain that you understand. Prawn cocktail was the first thing that came to my mind. So I've got, I've got shrimps, I think, or it'd be shrimp cocktail. I've got canned shrimps. I've got canned crab. Again, another, on crackers, because I got lots of crackers. So make it fun. I was saying that I've got lots of crackers in the place. I've also got what do you call them, chips and things that I don't eat, all right, because they're too salty. But I assure you, if I needed to, I would open up that bag and I'd eat them. I've got corn chips and things that have got a lot of sodium in them. So I just keep them for, every now and then I will open up the bag and take a handful. But, those sort of things. So I also, how many of you have got cocktail sausages? The little ones, Viennas, I think we used to call them. Do they call them that in the States? They're about this big. Cocktail sausages. They come in a tin. I actually need to replace mine because when I had the power outages, I had those. All right. So this is the thing Kez is saying. What about the army or space pouches that you can boil? Keep those in stock. How are you going to boil the water? That is the question. That's why I had this program today. Like, if you don't have electricity, how are you going to boil the water? I personally would have that in my earthquake preparedness. I wouldn't have it in, hello, we're going to have a power failure preparedness. The other thing I know, do you have condensed milk? Right, that you can just add a little bit of water to it. And, by the way, condensed milk lasts for almost indefinitely. And when I've opened a can of condensed milk, the caramel one is even better, I will just put it in a glass and keep it in my fridge with a cover on it so it doesn't dry out. Do you know it lasts in the fridge forever? Well, I say forever. It probably will go bad eventually in the fridge. But, I mean, it will last for a month easily in the fridge. So, all right. So Kez is saying, all right, she's got a camping stove, so she could do that. All right. I did a bit of research today, Kez, because I wondered whether anybody would come up with that one. And I was researching, what are those like to eat? And I think if you had an earthquake, you'd want to eat them. All right. So yes, get some if you can and keep them. I think they probably will last forever. But the thing that I'm saying is I don't think they're that nice. Now, we know they keep you alive because what are they eating up on the space station? All right. You know, you know what else I'm thinking? When you next go shopping, walk the aisle and see what is sitting on a shelf, not in a refrigerator. Because anything that's sitting in a shelf, hang on a second. All right. Maybe make sure you got some of this stuff. All right, where you just have to add a little bit of milk, half a cup of milk, and you got cream. Takes up far less room than Cool Whip. All right, because you just mix this packet up with half a cup of milk, and you got cream. Glamping. I always keep some of this for an emergency because to me, you gotta live. By the way, I know what you're asking me. They're not good. We know that. For an 11th of a part, actually, that would be quite a good dollop, right? For 20 calories, no cholesterol, no sodium, only 1%, only 3 grams of carbs, no fiber, 2 grams of sugar. It's not the end of the world. There's not much in it, really. But it doesn't taste like that. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. I had fun putting this together today, I must say. And I wanted to make sure we talk about coping with stress. Half the reason that we cope well with stress is we're prepared. It's like the interesting thing that we had here was there was a notification down at the post boxes to say they were going to cut off the water on tomorrow. Guess what? We got, for any of you who know what's been happening to me this week, we've had over a foot of snow, unheard of here. So do you think I've been going to the post box a lot? No, but we got the system now because I said we need a system. So guess what? One person saw it down at the post box. They went down to get their mail. They told 2 people. I was one of the 2. And then I have a little database of people, near me that I started. And I just emailed them all and said, apparently this is just down on the notice board. Thought you would need to know on Monday we're not going to have any power. Do you know how many people wrote and thanked me? And I wrote back and said, that's why we have a community. Right? I now call it SNN, Sal's News Network. Because it's like, that's what neighbors do, isn't it? And again, for those of you, Jeannie and Jody and myself, everybody, and Kimmy as well, for those of you who like to do things for other people, make sure your pantry has enough in it so that you can be the superstar. One of the greatest joys I remember my sister talking about, she lived in Northridge when they had the Northridge earthquake. Don't know if any of you remember that, quite a while ago. Years ago, maybe 20 years ago or more. Anyway, but she was not in Northridge when the earthquake happened. She was on her way back from Palm Springs with her very fancy RV. And what she realized was on the way back, she stopped at a grocery store and she stocked up her RV with cans and potatoes and even instant potatoes, anything she could find, and she fed her neighbors from the RV for I think a week to 10 days until the electricity came back on again and they could use their stoves. She fed the neighborhood from her RV. And so if you're that sort of person, don't forget the oats. And I want to make sure you don't forget the oats, right? Oats, literally, you can put a little bit of water with them. Just leave them. You don't have to cook them. Just leave them. It's called overnight oats. Add a few raisins, right? Make sure you've got some cranberries, some raisins, everything else. It's amazing what you can do. Right. Kimmy's saying you can freeze food outside all winter where I live. Yep. That's a good point as well, right? Open the fridge once and put it outside. Um, all right, so here's Jody saying one key mistake to avoid if the power goes out in the winter is to try and use the winter weather as an informal outdoor refrigerator or freezer. I actually also heard that. I know people do it, but there is a reason for that. You will attract vermin, for one. There's a health reason for it as well. Because the temperature isn't constant. But I understand people do it, and I am certain people do it a lot. So the choice is yours if you want to take the risk. But no, I would say do the inconsistent temperatures as well. Yep, that's what I said. I think that's what is the major problem, and it can cause bacteria and stuff to start growing and so forth. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it made you think a bit, because that's what we like to do. And remember that reducing your stress is about being prepared. I want you all to be able to go, oh, look at that. The electricity just went. Never mind, I'm going to take my emergency. But I want to tell you that one emergency bulb that I had next to me when my power went out unexpectedly, I just laughed. And I grabbed that bulb and I unscrewed it from the lamp thing it was in. And I screwed in that bottom bit, and I had as much light from the emergency one as I did before it went out. And I knew it was fully charged. Why? It's in there the whole time. I recharge all my emergency lights every month. I just swap them around. Just one night I put one in, the next night I put another one in. I've got 3 of them now. But there's something about when that happens that you can just go, oh, look at that, no electricity. Now I'm going to say, give me an hour, I can top up my phone and not mess with the battery. How many of you know I'm going to be doing experiments all week? All right. What about I'm going to charge my tablet with it. I'm going to charge anything that's got a USB. So I know what I can charge with it. So I'm out of here. This is DearMamaSal saying we had fun, didn't we? We'll see you on Friday. Love you dearly. Thank you for being here and supporting one another with your ideas. That's how we all learn so much more. Sleep well, do the right things, and stay prepared. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody.